What's up, guys? We are live at Sunnyside High School with the podcast went mobile. Things changed a little bit. Mother Nature got the better of us, but we made it work for you guys. I'm here with always my co-host Javier Morales. Morning, brother.
I'm doing great.
Cool. And guys, we got a special guest for you on the line right now, Coach Kent Middleton from Push Ridge High School. Coach, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. How you doing, Coach?
Okay. I'm doing good. We're just in a lightning delay right now at practice, so it's gonna be a
Oh
long day.
shoot, it's hitting you guys over there. So I appreciate you being on. We had a great conversation last year. One question I want to ask you: having all the success, how are you able to make sure your guys stay focused, even though you guys are undefeated right now, having this long win streak?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we just understand that every week is a new week. So we break the season down into seven different seasons. So, or excuse me, 10 different seasons. So each week is a different season. So this is a new season for us this week, and we're playing a good team that's got a lot of talent, and all we have to do is show the kids the film, and they realize that, and realize that what happened in the past, absolutely nothing Friday night.
Incredible. And I'll let Mr. Morales throw in some questions as well.
No, I was fortunate to watch
Okay.
Push Ridge play on Thursday. Right, I'm getting the days mixed up because there's Thursday, Friday games.
Yes.
But I watched the game there against Catalina Foothills. Very impressed. 35-0 win. After watching the film and breaking down things, what stood out to you, Coach, about what you like about this team even more? Maybe after watching that film.
Well, I think we're still a work in progress. That's what's obvious to us is that there's a lot of areas that we can get better in, and fortunately we have young men that'll do that. They'll heed that and realize that last week's performance may not be good enough for this week, and we just got to keep grinding and stay at it and get better with everything that we do. That's understanding schemes and making sure our technique is good, so the schemes that we do run work and have a chance of giving us success. So that's the biggest thing is that you just it's a work in progress every week.
Yeah, and so you guys are playing 1-3 Florence. Talk a little about that matchup. Going into it on this week.
So Florence has probably had one of the toughest schedules in the state this year at the 3A level. They've beaten three, or they've played four different, I believe, playoff teams from last year. So they're battle tested. They're aggressive. They They're in the right spots. They do things well. They're tough and physical. So it's going to be a lot to overcome for us because they're a very very good football team that got a good blend of speed and size and they play really aggressive defense. So and they play a wing T type offense, and if that offense gets cranking up, it's hard to stop. So they definitely got our eyes our eyes wide open.
Uh, Coach, talk about the two quarterback system with Pineo and Buckner, and how that makes it difficult for the opponent to prepare for you guys because they don't know who's going to be out there. I know you do quarter by quarter breaks pretty much, but they have to prepare for two quarterbacks instead of one.
Yeah, we're blessed right now. I mean, number one, they're both fantastic young men, great Christian character, and abide by that, and so they've put their humility aside, or they have great humility and realize that what we're doing right now is best for the team. Both MJ and Race just do a great job, and they're both playing really well. So that's the thing. It's not we don't have one that's jumping way out ahead of the other. I mean, they both had games where they've each been better in, but the other guy that they're better than has played well too. So that's why we haven't been able to go with one because both of them have been very effective. Both are throwing the ball really well, and they're actually running the ball really well too. So it's a blessing for us, and if it's not broke, don't fix it.
All right, and they're both juniors too, so you have them another for another year. That's amazing how developed they are.
Yeah, we
Playing
do.
playing behind Jacob last year, and to see them play this way shows how much you guys got them prepared, even though they weren't playing a lot last year.
No, they didn't play a lot last year because we had the, Jacob was the 3A conference player of the year,
Right.
um, and did just a great job for us. These guys bring a little bit different stuff to the table. I mean, they're throwing the ball really well, very accurate with their throwing game, and we're giving them, up front, we're giving them a lot of time to throw, so our protection's been good, and they can extend plays. That's something that Jacob was extremely good at, was extending plays, and these two have. Definitely done a great job. We've thrown the ball really, really well this year,
Mhm.
and that's an attribute to a bunch of different things. And one of that's pass pro, and then receivers getting open, and then them delivering the ball on target. And they've been really accurate. So that's been really fun to watch.
That's awesome. One final question for me is last year we talked about your guys' mindsets, and I thought it was so incredible for every coach, every player to hear. Talk about how tough your guys are, but also they're the nicest guys on the field as well.
Yeah, that's kind of our mantra. We play for God, we play for Jesus, and we know that everything that we do is not possible without Him. And so when you're playing for someone else, I think you give it a little bit more. And not only are they playing for Jesus, but they're playing for each other. It's a small community. Okay, it's a small school. So these, we got seniors that are best friends with sophomores, and that's unusual in a high school campus. But it's not here. It's been that way, before I got here, and ever since I've been here, is that they really care for one another, and you really get to have great senior leadership because we have 3, 4 sophomores starting right now, and maybe even 4 or 5, and so they're able to take that leadership and actually see it up hand. They're not just on a JV team looking on it from a distance. They're right in the middle of it, and doing a great job. So our mindset is just hey, whatever the Lord puts in front of us is for a reason. And instead of whine about it, when adversity hits, and like today, today is our second day. We had to come in a little bit yesterday because of lightning. As they were in right now, we've been in all practice for lightning, and you got to. It's what it is. So what are you going to
Mhm.
get out of it? And that's kind of what we do. And I think everybody does that. I don't think that's just exclusive to us. I think all teams do that. But we that's one of the things we emphasize is there's going to be roadblocks thrown in our way, and how we react to that is going to determine what kind of team we have.
Awesome.
Great. Well, you can also start 2-0 in the region, and the 3A with the playoffs, is it the same as it's been, where the region champion is an automatic qualifier, or is that different this year?
So this year, I think this year it is the last year. If you want to read it, you don't automatically qualify. I think this year you do, and other than that, everything's the same. So
Okay.
we haven't made drastic changes like the other conferences has. I mean, we're top
Right.
16 teams, and here we go. Yeah, and you know what? Be honest with you, we're not even thinking about playoffs right now. We got so much to work on that keeps our plate full.
Yeah. Well, you guys play that way. You're focused every week, it seems like. So,
Yeah, hopefully.
yes.
We'll find out this Friday. It's another test.
Yep.
Yep. Well,
Yep,
Coach or
certainly.
Mr. Morales, you have any other questions?
No, I just want to say good luck and congratulations on all the success. You've handled it well. The kids have handled it well. It hasn't got to their head. I think they're driven. They don't get complacent. So that's a huge thing with the kind of run you guys are on.
Yeah, they've been. What's really cool, like I said, is because we're a small school. Is that the youngsters, the underclassmen get to see, why the upperclassmen have had success firsthand. So, hopefully that happens, and we've been blessed as coaches. We've been blessed to have these great kids, and we couldn't be more proud of them than what they do every night. So, hopefully that continues.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Coach, good luck the rest of the way, and thank you for being on.
Thank you,
All
Coach.
right, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for what you do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
All
Mr.
right.
Morales. So he's one of the few guys that's still undefeated. This week was filled of undefeateds, finally getting the first loss. I want to start with South Point versus Red Mountain, a battle of 3-0 teams, which is a possible playoff preview. Let's go into that. And what are the keys for Matthew Avalar to finally shine in a bright moment?
Yeah, he's been showing that too this year. He was just named to the Ed Doherty Award nominee list for his performance last week in the win over Saguaro. And he's getting that recognition as a junior, also another junior quarterback that's really good. Mesa Red Mountain is 3-0, and they've played some good teams. They won at Desert Pines. They beat ALA Queen Creek at home, won at O'Connor. So this is going to be probably their most difficult test. I know they played Marana in the season opener, and Marana blew out Yuma Catholic last week, so that's a quality team. But I think Cell Point going on the road for the first time to the Phoenix area we'll see really how far they've come and how far Avalar's come, because he's been dynamite so far.
Yeah, he's
responding around him. You know, they had a 2 quarterback system too, like Pushbridge, but he's shown that he can handle most of the load, or if not all the load. Race Alvarez is always there in case, God forbid, something happens to Matthew, but he's really shown that he's not only a good quarterback skill-wise, but leadership-wise. I think the team really rallies around him. RJ Gorey and him are a delight to see, kind of like in the similar fashion as Colton Meyer and Sean Roebuck, now Desmond's younger brother, the way they connect. Those are some really good connections. You got the quarterback connection with Jaden Thomas at Buena. We're seeing kind of like it's kind of a different type of season like that, where we're seeing quarterback receiver combos that are really, really tough.
And my question to you is, do you think your offense, do you think it's balanced enough to be able to beat Red Mountain this week?
They have shown that they can run. We saw them against Tucson High a couple weeks ago, that they can run the ball. So they have a couple of good running backs, really, really impressive running backs there that can move the ball. I was impressed with Cheney, Chris Cheney. He didn't rush for a lot of yards last week against Saguaro. He had 53, but the week before he had 216 against Tucson High.
Yeah.
So they're able to use their strength when they need it the most. Like the running game, they needed it against Tucson High, and it came through because Matthew Avalar didn't have the kind of game he usually has. And then now their 2 wins, Avalar's really stepped forward and led them to wins. Their running game wasn't as potent, so they're able to be balanced.
Yeah.
And if they go into a game where they played balanced like that, they're going to be even more hard to beat.
Yeah, definitely a contender, and like I said, this is a playoff preview right here.
Oh yeah, 3-0 against 3-0. Cell Point can really put their foot forward towards an open division. Good seeding when the rankings come out in a couple weeks if they win this game. And let's face it, they have to go after that as a 6A team, because the open division is only afforded to 6A this time around, and 5A, 4A are not part of it.
Yeah.
So why not try to play against the best, compete against the best? So this is one step forward toward doing that.
Absolutely. Speaking of teams that have been the best for a while now, Marana versus CDO is a 2-1 matchup. You look at their stats and stuff, they kind of say a similar story, but they play different opponents. Tell us a little bit about this matchup.
It's at Marana, right? So Marana they really impressed me against Yuma Catholic. I think Yuma Catholic might be down this year, but traditionally they've been really strong. But to go all the way to Yuma and dominate like Marana did, keep your eye on Sean Roebuck. I think he's as good, or if not better, as an athlete than Desmond Roebuck.
That's a big statement right there.
And we're seeing what Desmond's doing at Washington right now. He's turning a lot of heads. He's playing a lot as a freshman, true freshman. So I really like the way their offense is flowing with Jeffrey Smith too as a running back, the feature back. He's a big guy. He was a freshman that looked like a senior last year, and he's just continuing to get stronger and stronger. So, and their defense is because everybody talks about Miranda's offense, they don't talk about their defense. It's been solid. So, as far as CDO, this is one of those games like a show me game. Like they've shown that they can compete against some teams, but they did struggle a couple weeks ago against Micah Mountain at home. They lost 37-7. So they got to get that confidence, and I think if they can at least compete with Moran into the fourth quarter, I think that could pay dividends for them as the season goes on. If it's another route like that like that happened against Micah Mountain, who knows how that'll affect them the rest of the year.
Yeah. Do you think, or what do you think the keys are for CDO to still be competitive till that fourth quarter?
it's got to be their defense and being able to limit the big plays that Colton Meyer and his offense can do.
Yeah.
Their defense has to be ready for those quick snaps. I'm sure they practiced this whole week, getting ready for that. It's Moran has that no huddle, fast pace, and it can really wear down defenses. So, the condition wise, being alert on those quick reads, it's really going to challenge CDO. They're not going to have a more difficult game than this game, even though they did play Micah Mountain. I think Miranda is a step above that right now.
Yep.
So it's going to be, and it's on the road. It's at Miranda. So again, if Scott McKee sees his team go into the fourth quarter still in it, then that provides more hope for the rest of the season. If they're getting blown out, then it's like, what are we going to do? We have to go back to the drawing board and see what happens.
Yeah, and which a lot of teams are going through that right now, really figuring out what type of team they are.
Right.
Two teams that are like that right now are Tucson High and Buena. Tucson had an incredible comeback win against Walden Grove. That second half, it looked like they turned around. They were a whole different team. Buena was not so lucky last weekend in their first loss. Tell us about this matchup.
Yeah, I remember we talked about Buena. That was a show-me game, right? Because they schedule these tough opponents. They're going to be playing Mesa Mountain View here in a couple
they're in the
weeks.
gauntlet.
So, and they're playing with Tucson High this week at home, but it's not going to be an easy game. Then they play Marana, right? And then they play at Marana, and then they play Mesa Mountain View at home. So they did beat Tucson High last year in Sierra Vista. So, they can be confident in that way, but Tucson High is going to be driven to kind of avenge that loss. I think very similar types of offensive performances with Derek Mesa. With him, the way he's passing the ball, he had a good game, an efficient game. He probably wants to get his completion rate a little bit higher, but he passed for 229 yards. Noah Chanez, who was our player of the week, more than 100 yards receiving and rushing. That's a rare feat, and he had 112 receiving, 170 receiving, 112 rushing. So he brings a balance to more balance. Remember we talked to last week that Tucson High needs to get its running game going.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he had the running game going right there.
He helped out a ton, and then with Buena, I really liked their defense. I think playing ALA Gilbert North was kind of like an eye opener because they're not used to seeing that type of talent week in and week out. They saw it in the playoff time. So I think even though they lost 42-14, I think that was a good experience for Joe Thomas's team to go through that, to understand, okay, we're 2-0 going in and we got our, what kicked. So then now they know what they have to work on. Sometimes a loss gives you more things to look at on film than a win would, and you get more of the players' attention. So I think that's what's going to happen here. Caleb Layton, he still hasn't uncorked a really good game like he's capable of, like he showed at Walden Grove last year. So Joey Thomas had 145 yards receiving. He's always going to be a threat. And then Cooper Cross, like we've talked about before, he had 13 tackles last week, 2 tackles for loss, had 5 quarterback hurries. So against a quality team that had some the D1 probably, definitely D1 talent on it. For him to have that kind of game shows you what he's capable of. So I think it'll be a close game this Friday between Tucson and Buena. Are you guys going?
Yeah, that's going to be our game of the week.
Awesome.
We're taking the trip out there.
That'll be it should be a close game. I think it'll be a very, it'll be kind of like the South Point Tucson game we saw a couple weeks ago, where it was close and South Point decided in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Here's the tough one. Do you think this matchup is still a playoff matchup? Like both teams still have the opportunity to make the playoffs?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think both of them will have winning records by the end of the year. In 5A, it's power points. It's not by region. So, you want to have a good region record, obviously. But I think games like this will help their points.
Yeah.
And especially with Buena playing these tough teams, Tucson High playing Buena, that helps them because Buena's playing these very tough teams,
Yeah.
Because Buena's power rating will go up by just playing Mesa Mountain View in a couple weeks, and that'll help Tucson's power rating because they played Buena. So it's like a domino effect, so it's a good thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Next matchup we got is Ironwood Ridge versus Casa Grande. Ironwood Ridge is 0-3. Casa Grande is 1-2. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here and what's the keys for Ironwood to turn this around.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about the score last week against Cienega. I did pick Cienega to win last week when we talked because I was really impressed with Hanley and Rogers and their defensive front, and that came to fruition. They really played well. Andre Davis Lopez had 6 tackles for loss, 5 sacks in a game. Yeah. This is for Cienega. But for Ironwood Ridge, what's interesting to me is they moved Jaden Martinez out of the quarterback spot, and they use him as a receiver, and they used quarterback Maximus Harder as their quarterback. So they made changes there. I don't know if that's out of like a desperation, like we lost our first 2 games, we're going to try something different, or Martinez couldn't go at quarterback, and they just use him here and there.
Do you think that hurts them more than helps them, kind of just throwing a guy in like that all of a sudden?
Well, it's early in the year, so it could help them because it's giving giving Harder experience that he wouldn't have otherwise. And they are 0-2, so why not try different things, see if something works? And it didn't work against Cienega, especially the defense. It seems like the defense was really controlled by the offense. For Hanley to pass for 354 yards, and he rushed for 53, so they couldn't really contain him. So Casa Grande, they have a good quarterback, but he's more of like a drop back guy, so he won't be a dual threat, but he passes for a lot of yards.
Yeah, and they're a mystery team, I say, because they only lost Gilbert North by 2 points.
Yeah, so like Gilbert North, and that was on the road, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so why they're 1-2, and they also have one of the best players in the state too. That's going to North Carolina. Their defensive end, tight end. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they have a really good Avion Williams, I think his name. Yeah, so they have some talent there. Casa Grande always have talent because it's isolated. Those guys aren't going to go to other schools. There's Vista Grande there, but generally you're going to keep the good talent there, unlike Tucson where you can move around. So I think the game is at Ironwood Ridge.
This one is at Casa Grande.
That's Casa Grande. So that's gonna be a tough trip for Ironwood Ridge, especially when they're trying to figure things out and get things, get their feet on the ground. It seems like they're having trouble doing that.
Yeah. So it's got to make the changes, finally get that victory, but it's going to be tough being on the road.
Right.
Now going to Desert View versus Mountain View. Mountain View just got their first loss. Desert View's 3-0. And
they're legit. Some people might be like, who have they played? What are they really that good? They are really that good.
Yeah, they just handled Phoenix Camelback.
Right.
Yeah.
They've been pretty strong in each of their wins, and we talked about this before, they have everybody back from that freshman team that went unbeaten and blew out everybody. They have a lot of those guys back. They have some new talent. Vasa Villabaso is their quarterback. He's experienced. He's a good leader. Jaylee Abraham, another big game. He had a 71-yard punt return for a touchdown. He nearly did it with Noah Chanazit. He had nearly 100 yards rushing, had more than 100 yards receiving, or vice versa. So he's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about him a lot. And Bonilla looks at him as a leader, even though he's a sophomore. And I was at the flag football game yesterday. We saw them coming out of their locker room ready for practice, and they're as loose as can be. It's like, hey, it's what you would expect from a team that's really good.
Yeah.
The way the way they handled themselves, they were loose, but they were like looking forward to practice, the work. So I think that mindset's there, and Bonias has a lot of experience and good coaching staff. So I think this is a team that can go at least two or three rounds into the playoffs, in the 5A playoffs this year.
I think they can do it too, being 3-0. Mountain View, we were looking at them as a great team, but then they just lost 42-0. How do they come back from a loss like that?
Their offense, they need to establish more of a passing game. Their passing game is pretty much non-existent. They do run the ball well. Drake Davis, he's a sophomore running back, also another good sophomore. He's got close to 300 yards rushing, or over 300 through the first 3 games, but he can only do so much. And then defenses are going to key on him if they can't pass the ball, and they had trouble passing the ball against was it Desert Mountain?
It was, yes.
Yeah, they had trouble passing against them, and their defense normally good struggled because they were on the field a lot. You know, it's you're putting your defense in a tough position if they're going to be on the field a lot more than the offense is
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely.
But I still like their defense. They have a lot of good linebackers, a lot of good secondary defensive players, some good DNs. But your defense is you got to give them some time to recoup on the sidelines, and you have to sustain drives. Mountain View was not able to sustain any kind of drive against Desert Mountain, and I know Desert Mountain's really good. They were in the Open last year, but you know, again, good experience like Wayne had against ALA Gilbert North. A good experience to go up there, play a team like that, see where you're limited, see what you can do to improve yourself off film and off knowing how you compare against some of the best.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good experience. Rather have that happen in the third week than in the 11th week.
Yeah, or
you know?
playoffs or something.
So get them experience. Now get into the regular season, get some region games, get some confidence, and then who knows.
Yeah, but do you think Mountain View's defense can control Abraham?
No, it'll be hard. I don't think anybody's defense will control him to a degree. I mean, he's just all over the place, and they do have other weapons there. Vasaville also can pass to another. He has a good group of receivers.
Yeah.
And Jay Lee just kind of like he can open things up for other guys too. So I don't think that they'll be able to shut him down. I don't think any team's going to shut down Jay Lee Abraham this year. Yeah.
Awesome. Now we go from another undefeated team, Flowing Wells, playing 1-2 Maricopa. This is an interesting game because I was looking at Flying Wells stats. They don't have much of a passing game.
They don't. There's another team that doesn't have much of a passing game.
And then Maricopa is really well rounded. They have a passing game and rushing game. So what's going to happen here?
Generally, balance wins over one-dimensional. So, but it's at Flowing Wells. Flowing Wells is unbeaten. They're going to have that the home crowd. Being Maricopa has to drive down to Tucson, and we talked about him before. Jaden Simmons is a guy that can really control a game with the way he runs the ball. He's over 300 yards through the first 3 weeks, well over it, and it seems like they're kind of like Mountain View to a degree. They run the ball, run, and not pass as much as they should as they get deeper in the season. So that's something to keep an eye on. You're right about Maricopa. They have a good quarterback from the stats that he's produced this year.
Mr. Jose Jr.
Jose
Cordon Jr.
Yeah, Jose Cordona Jr. rushed for 75 yards last week. He's also a place kicker, so he does a lot. And he didn't pass for a lot of yards last week, but he's able to do that. So Mike Mountain's 2-1. I'm not Mike. Maricopa's 2-1 going to that game, so they're not a bad team. They beat Casa Grande pretty handily at home. So this is going to be Flowing Wells' toughest test. The good thing it's at home, and to see schools like Flowing Wells, Desert View, teams like that do so well through the first 3 to 4 games means a lot to a lot of people who follow high school football here. You want to see the teams that really haven't done too much over the last few years come up big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think if they pull off this victory, are they a contender?
Flowing Wells? Yeah, because Maricopa, they're above average 5A team. They had struggled last year, but I think they've shown signs of being better because of Cardona and some of their other athletes that they have. So I think this will be one of those. If Flowing Wells pulls it out, it'd be like, yeah, Flowing Wells actually has proven something by winning this game. Yeah.
Awesome. Now we go on to Nogales, 2-1, Cienega 1-2. Cienega's is looking to keep the winning streak going on, getting their second one. Tell us a little bit about this one.
I like Cienega again because Nogales, they lost big to Sarita. They didn't really get their offense going like I thought they could have. So in Cienega's really got a really good defensive front like we talked about earlier with Davis Lopez and some of their linebackers that they have there that are really active, and they have a good offense. So Cienega lost to Buena on the last play of the game. If they would have got in there, it would have been to overtime. Then who knows? And then plus Cienega really shut down Buena's passing game after the first half, and then Cienega played Desert Edge that won the 5A state championship last year, and they didn't get blown out. They lost like 25-0 or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a 3 touchdown loss, but they didn't lose like 50-0 or 45-0. It was competitive for the most part. So I think Cienega, with that 0-2 start, people might be thinking, oh, they're not going to be good, but I think they are going to be good in the long run. I think they'll have a winning season and they'll get in the playoffs again.
Yeah. You think the key for them is just making sure the running game is going throughout the whole game?
Right, because Hanley's really good, and he's good. He's a good runner, but you don't want your quarterback to be your leading rusher, especially at his size. He's not a big guy, so he's going to take some beating. He did take a beating against Buena, and he showed his toughness by staying in there. I heard that he had an injured shoulder or something like that during that game, during the second half, and he really rallied Cienega to come back against Buena. They were down like by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I really like him. He's a gamer. He's really intense. Nogales, they have to go to Cienega, coming off a big loss against Saudita. They did win their first 2 games, but it was the opponents might be questionable.
Yeah.
But again, you got to be happy for a team that's gone 0-20 to win their first 2 games. And I think now some reality's setting in.
Yeah. And that leads to my question. Do you think they can rebound, or are they still kind of a few steps away from being one of the top teams?
Who's that?
Nogales.
Nogales. It's going to be tough for them because we're at Sunnyside right now. Where the flag football team's going to start here in an hour or so. Sunnyside plays at Nogales next week, and that's not going to be an easy task going from Saudi to Cienega and then Sunnyside.
Yeah.
So now things are going to get more and more difficult. It could snowball with the confidence and all that. But to get those 2 wins, though, means a lot. If those first 2 wins, at least they can hang on to those and maybe pull out 1 or 2 more wins, and that'll be a much improvement because they hadn't won a game in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So 3 seasons, yeah. So it's you got to be happy for Nogales that they won those first 2 games.
Yep. Showing improvement right there.
Yeah.
And one team that's looking to improve a lot from last week is Micah Mountain as they face Sunnyside. This is a big game because Micah Mountain was on an incredible streak, and they're looking to put it on some team afterwards.
I don't know. They had 7 turnovers in that game, like 5 interceptions.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard to beat anybody, especially ALA West Foothills that made it to the 3A state championship. I know they went up a level to 4A this year, but that's a good program, and you're not going to beat anybody with 7 turnovers. But they only lost by a touchdown there.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is their defense kept them in it as much as they could with all the offensive turnovers.
Yeah.
So their defense is solid. Some of those might have been short fields where the turnovers happened and West Foothills didn't have to go as long. So I still think Sunnyside's going to have to be aware of that they lost to ALS with West Foothills and they're 2-1, they're not 3-0, but it's a quality opponent. Probably they played Campo Verde last week, so that was a big time opponent. So Mike Mountain's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah, who are the key guys from Sunnyside that need to step up to turn it around a little bit from last week?
Duarte at quarterback. He has to continue to be a dual threat, stay healthy, get his receivers involved. And the line is big, so we talked about that before. So the line's going to offer protection for the running game. That's being able to get first downs, control some drives, get some long possessions. Try to wear down the defense as much as possible. It's going to be hard because I've seen Micah Mountain play. Their defenses, they lost a lot of players from last year, but they've got a lot of guys come in and stepping in and playing well right off the bat. Broden Schmidt, the linebacker, Bradley Carson, defensive back. Some of the defensive linemen are very active. So it's not going to be easy for Sunnyside to sustain drives, but they're going to have to. To have a chance, they're going to have to get some first downs, get some long drives going, and don't do any turnovers.
Yep. And like I mentioned, a bunch of teams got their first loss, and one of those was Catalina Foothills. They're playing Snowflake. How do you think that match is going to be? Because Jacob Leduc is on fire right now.
It's somebody at...
That's for Snowflake.
Snowflake, yes. Yeah.
For their quarterback.
Their quarterback is really good, and that's a good program. I saw Catalina Foothills play Push Ridge last week. They lost 35-0. They were down 7-0 at halftime though, and then things just got out of control there in the second half, and they seemed like they just went flat. Push Ridge had a couple of big plays and just deflated them, but I think Daniel has some potential there. I think that going to Snowflake though, that's a huge order. That's a long
Yeah.
trip against a very good team, and I know that there's some personal things going on with Coach Sines, with Coach Rometto's, what's going on with him with the funeral and so forth. I think he said that he has to go to a service in the morning on Friday, and then go to Snowflake separate from the team.
Yep.
So that whole it's got to be a trying situation for Coach Sines, and to keep the guys dialed in. The good thing is it's not a game in November at Snowflake.
Yeah.
Because that could be like 20-30 degrees.
Yep.
But it'll probably be cool, but not cold. And you want to see how a team responds after getting beat like they did against Push Ridge. So, especially on the road like that, we'll see what happens. If it's another lopsided loss, then you got to wonder about the confidence coming back. They were right there at Push Ridge in the first half, and they turned the ball over a couple times deep in Push Ridge's territory. So there is some potential there. You gotta take care of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be giving away freebies from that.
Yeah, you're
And
taking points off the board right there because they're within the 30-yard line. They turned the ball over twice.
Yeah, especially with the great offense like Snowflake, they got to play perfect defense going in.
Right.
And next one team that's struggling a little bit is Pueblo High School. They will take on Cooper Canyon. What did you see from the performance last week on what they need to fix going in this finally?
They are 0-3. We haven't really seen too much from them, especially they don't really post their stats. I don't know why, but they don't post their stats. So we don't know some of their top players. But I know Sly Lewis, and I know how driven he is to build a winning program. I know they lost here at Sunnyside a couple weeks ago. Then they had to make the trip over to Douglas. So I think this is their first home game.
Yeah, they're having a whiteout on Friday.
Yeah, because their field was worked on like Sabino, so their field must be done, must be complete if they're playing at home. So this will be the first game on that new turf. So it could be like that excitement level can push them.
The fans can give them some energy going in.
Yeah, and I think something like that can jumpstart them and get them going. Because Sly Lewis eventually is going to have that program to where it's going to be, nobody was going to play them, especially in the region. So we'll see how they come out here in their first home game of the year after playing three road games.
Yep. And speaking of another Southside school, Troy will play Kofa. Troy just got their first loss last week. How can they bounce back and get this win against Kofa Yuma?
Yeah, I was there at that Troy game. It was rough to see because they really couldn't get anything going against Combs. Combs they have 3 wins against Southern Arizona teams. They haven't given a point, and they all were like 50-point wins.
Yeah.
Rio Rico, Rincon, and Choya. So so they really dominated those 3 teams, but Choya just couldn't get anything going on offense. It became a running clock by the halftime. It was 44-0 at halftime, so the last minute or two was a running clock. And I think, their coaching staff is good. I think that means a lot. I think Coach Youngling, he has that background with Friedley, Nugent. He played for Nugent at Pima College. He coached with Jorge Mendeva, who won over 120 games in his career. So he has that background of being around really good coaches. And you could tell that he knows how to coach.
Yeah.
He knows how to relate to players. And he has David Watson as his offensive line coach, and he used to play at U of A. Mo Espinosa's on their defense, and he's really solid. He was a good coach at Amphi. So they have good coaches, and these are guys that are together for a while. And as you know, if you play for a coaching staff that's been together, the players get more out of it. And
Yeah.
it feels like a family more, and as opposed to like new assistants coming in and going, coaches not getting along, coaches not talking to each other. One coach thinks they know more than the other. That's when you have problems on teams.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it. But when you have a coaching staff that's tight and goes through the good times and bad times together, um, anything can happen. Look at Micah Mountain. That coaching staff was together for a long time last year. Look what happened to them.
Yep.
CDO before that with Dustin Peace. That coaching staff was together for more than a decade. Look what happened to them. So if you have a good coaching staff that's cohesive, if you're not winning, you eventually will, or you'll get the most out of learning from those losses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one team that needs to learn from a loss is Walden Grove. They looked incredible in that first half, but once we got to the second half, it was a different team out there. They'll play Vista Grande, which is 2-1.
Yeah, and that's at home, right?
It is at Vista Grande.
Vista Grande. Okay, so they have to travel after losing a home game to Tucson High. Vista Grande is not bad. They are beatable, but they're not bad. And you guys saw Walden Grove up close. They lost their quarterback, Leighton, but they got another one, Albalos, who's putting up good numbers.
Yeah, he looked good in the first half. They
Yeah.
were super physical. I think one thing that was kind of cool about that game, I don't know if it motivated them, but Tucson High actually went up on the logo and did a whole Badger thing.
Oh,
Went on the logo, and I think it lit something up in Walden Grove.
yeah.
But I didn't think they had the endurance to continue that because it was like I said, it was a whole different team in that second half.
Yeah, so I think, Corey Noble, good coach, good coaching staff. So this is a challenge. They probably felt like they should have beat Tucson High. They let it slip away. How are they going to handle it? Going up to Casa Grande to play Vista Grande, and everybody knows that that region schedule's coming up. This is all games that they're trying to write things and play different combinations, play different players, like we're seeing at Iron Ridge, and pretty soon you're gonna start getting the rankings come out.
Yeah.
More games are gonna be magnified to the importance. So I think a game like this, after a loss, could really show us what Walden Grove's about. Are they gonna be a contender again? Are they gonna be able to bounce back from a tough loss? Their running game, it didn't seem like they ran the ball very well against Tucson High, which has a good defense. So they're going to have to run the ball better. So, it'll be interesting to see how they handle this game on the road after losing a heartbreaker against Tucson High.
Yeah. So we're 3 weeks in. What's been the biggest surprise to you from the season so far? Is there a team that's been where you're super surprised where they're at, or even at the other side of things, not performing the way you thought they were?
Well, looking at the unbeaten teams, you got South Point, Desert View,
Flowing Wells.
Flowing Wells, St. David in 1A, but they're always good.
Shout out them. Someone in our comments last week said we got to shout them out too.
Yeah, St. David is like annually. They have to figure out how to beat Hayden though in the playoffs. When they play Hayden in the playoffs, they get blown out. So they need to figure that out. I know they play Hayden at home late in the year. So who knows? Maybe they can get confidence from that. But Hayden can beat some 2A teams. They're that good. But out of the unbeaten teams, you really can. Flowing Wells is the only team you can say is like we probably didn't think they'd be 3-0. Desert View I thought could be 3-0 because I knew the talent that they had, in the way they were coming on last year. I saw them beat Sunnyside in overtime, and I was very impressed with their playmakers. And I knew they had a lot of that coming back. And they're going to have a lot of those guys coming back next year. So Desert View is going to be a program here in the next 2-3 years that's
Making a name for themselves.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm not too surprised about Desert View. I'm probably Flowing Wells. We'll learn a lot about them this week, right? So as far as surprises go, disappointments, I don't know. Cienega was 0-2, but they played two tough teams, and they won handily against Iron Ridge. Probably Iron Ridge. I don't think anybody thought they'd be 0-3 coming off the last couple years under Stott.
Yeah.
And and then seeing Jaden Martinez go from a quarterback to a wide receiver spot kind of is interesting. Like, why did that happen? Kind of, you hope that they could turn things around. I know they lost some really good impact seniors, but I didn't think they'd be 0-3. And we Pushbridge is 4-0.
Yeah, oh yeah, we got to give love to them.
Well, I'm not surprised that they're like that, but after all the talent they lose, to continue to be this dominant, it shows a lot of, again, that coaching staff's been together forever.
Yeah.
I mean, a long time, and they've coached in Tucson for a long time. That means a lot. People don't think about it that much, but if I'm a head coach, I want to be around guys that want to be around the whole, not that season, but the season after that, and so on. And I think that impacts the kids. So I'm not surprised about Pushers. I'm not surprised that they're good. I'm surprised that they're 4-0 and dominating.
Yeah, still doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, they lost their quarterback, Jacob Newborn, who was he was amazing. Like Coach said, he was a 3A player of the year.
Yeah.
So, and they lose that, and then they have a two-quarterback system that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Cause we're seeing that a lot. Do you think that helps teams more than it hurts them, or do you think it's kind of a situation where you're back and forth, it just saves you endurance for the game as well?
It depends on the situation and the players. So he was okay with them playing each other, and he said that not one player's outdistanced him from the other.
Yeah.
At South Point, you can tell that Avalar's really turned it up a notch and maintained that. Even against Tucson High, he struggled, and they kept him in the whole game.
We can tell that's their guy now.
Yeah, so I think, and we talked about it before that game, because he played the whole game against Marana, basically. So we were talking like, okay, so he played the whole game, so now you got to play him the whole game, because now if you start the two quarterback in, it's going to cause some tension and some doubt of, like, confidence wise from Avalar about the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they stuck with him. I feel bad for Ray Alvarez, but hey, that's part of competition. That's why you get into team sports. You want to try to push yourself, and you want to try to make the most out of your situation. He's not playing. He can play, and then very next play, you never know. In football, you never know what could happen, right? So he's got to be ready. To answer your question, I think it all depends on the situation, the coaching staff, how they're relating to other players on the team. And I think right now Avalar has the command of the team right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's the time that everyone always waits for. Who's your prediction of Player of the Week?
Player of the Week, well, you got to look at some of the bigger games. South Point's playing at Red Mountain, both 3-0 teams. I know RJ Gorey's really had some solid performances. The Arizona Bowl named him the Player of the Week.
Yep.
I want to see him consistently produce like that. So I want to see him have a big game against Red Mountain with Avalar. He's already getting recruited by Division I schools. So we haven't really talked about him that much.
Yeah. One thing we do want to say, his podcast is coming out next week. His whole story on how he came back from the illness he was dealing with, that whole story will be out next week on Tuesday.
Awesome, good. Yeah, he's I know he's a jet athlete.
The very first jet athlete.
Yeah, so he's got a good background, and it's great to see him perform. I want to see somebody from South Point come out of that game showing, this is why they're 4-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making a statement why they're going to be top dogs in the Open, maybe.
Yeah, and why not? Hey, if you're going to have that opportunity, why not go for it instead of being like, well, it's going to be tough in the Open. You hear a lot of teams say that we should be in the conference tournament, not the Open Division.
Yeah.
They got to have that mindset. Let's just go for it. That's what Marana had last year. Of course, they lost their first game in the Open Division, but they never said, "Oh, we'd rather be in the 5A."
Yep.
But as turned out, they probably would win the state championship.
Yeah.
If they're in the 5A.
We'll see what they do this year.
But hey, they could say they win the Open Division. Maybe they give them the Open Division banner just so that they're in that.
Yeah.
So I mean, South Point can go a long way. Like we said, they can beat Red Mountain on the road. Kind of show that they're going to be a threat.
Awesome. Well, did you think we cover everything, or something I missed?
No, other than just there are other sports going on, but football's big. I mean, I just was at the Los Mezquitas cross country meet for the Sunnyside runs last week. There were 12 teams there. There's going to be some other big cross country meets. Golf is going on. Andy takes a lot of photos there. Volleyball, flag football is starting this week. I went to the Desert game yesterday. It was good to see that. I mean, I'm glad that flag football's growing. Every year. I mean, went from 4 teams in Southern Arizona, from Miranda, Mountain View, Casa Grande, Vista Grande. Then 5 teams joined last year, and now another 5. So in CDO and Amphi and Ironwood Ridge are supposed to have one this year. So they kind of put a hold on that. So they'll probably start next year. So we'll see some more teams.
Yep, just keep on growing, and that's what's going on in the background, guys. We got a game coming up at 6 o'clock. I know Mr. Morales has to go cover that right now.
Right.
And then I appreciate you guys watching as always. Thank you. Like I said, our game of the week will be Tucson High versus Buena, which will be an incredible maybe playoff preview. Anything else you'd want to finish with?
No, I'm glad that you're doing this every week. This is something that's new, so and I hope people are enjoying it. It's been a great experience for me, and I'm glad you're getting coaches on and players. Because their story needs to be told. You know, we can't lose sight of who this is all about.
Yeah, it's about the players and coaches
players
and people
down there.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We'll catch you next week. See you next Wednesday.